With a rear wing that towered nearly 2 feet above the roof and a nose cone that looked like it belonged on a rocket ship, the 1970 Plymouth Superbird was NASCAR's most outrageous creation. Built for one purpose, to dominate superspeedways and lure Richard Petty back to Plymouth, this winged warrior became an instant legend. But behind that audacious aero package lies a collection of bizarre stories that make this muscle car even more incredible than it appears. Fact 20. It was only produced for one single year.
Every angle of the exterior screams purpose. The fenders rise tall and muscular, wrapping around.
The Plymouth Superbird has the distinction of being one of the shortest-lived production vehicles in automotive history. Manufactured exclusively during the 1970 model year and never produced again. This wasn't due to poor planning or market failure. It was always intended as a one-year homologation, special, created specifically to qualify for NASCAR racing. Plymouth needed to build a certain number of street-legal versions to satisfy NASCAR's rules requiring race cars to be based on production models. Once the racing season ended and NASCAR changed regulations that essentially banned the car's aerodynamic advantages, there was absolutely no reason to continue production. The Superbird's successor, a planned 1971 version, was canceled before reaching production. The compressed production timeline created intense pressure on Chrysler's manufacturing facilities. They had to design, engineer, test, and build these radically modified vehicles in under 12 months, while maintaining quality standards. Every Superbird started life as a partially assembled Plymouth Roadrunner, pulled from the regular production line, then sent to Creative Industries in Detroit for conversion. The single-year phenomenon means every Superbird represents a specific moment in automotive history, when manufacturers would build absolutely anything to win races, creating vehicles so extreme they'd never be allowed again. Fact 19. Dealers literally could not sell them, initially.
Behind him, Tiny Lund is back in the pits. Tiny now is outside the top 10.
When Superbirds started arriving at Plymouth dealerships in the late 1969 and early 1970, many dealers were horrified rather than excited. These outrageous vehicles with their towering wings and bizarre nose cones looked too radical for conservative buyers who wanted practical muscle cars. Salespeople struggled to explain why anyone would want a car with a giant wing that served no purpose at street-legal speeds. Many Superbirds sat unsold on dealer lots for months, with some remaining there for over a year. Dealers grew so desperate they slashed prices dramatically, offering discounts of $1,000 or more. Some frustrated dealers actually removed the distinctive aero equipment, converting Superbirds back into regular Roadrunners just to move inventory. The sales resistance seems absurd now, given that pristine Superbirds sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But in 1970, buyers saw impractical oddities that were difficult to park in standard garages due to the nose cone's length and impossible to wash properly because of the wing's height. The rear wing blocked rearward visibility and created wind noise at highway speeds. Insurance companies charge premium rates for these high-performance vehicles, further discouraging buyers. Some dealerships actually refused to order Superbirds, wanting nothing to do with cars they considered unsellable. Fact 18. The rear wing stood 23 inches above the trunk.
This car was intended to go 200 miles an hour. It's got the nose cone on the front.
The Superbird's most visually shocking feature was its rear wing, which towered an incredible 23 inches above the trunk lid on massive vertical supports. This wasn't arbitrary styling. The wing needed to be elevated above the car's turbulent aerodynamic wake to function effectively at racing speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. Engineers determined through wind tunnel testing that positioning the wing in clean air dramatically reduced drag and increased rear downforce. The supports were welded directly to the rear frame rails for structural integrity. Each wing assembly weighed approximately 50 pounds and was angle adjustable to tune aerodynamic balance for different tracks. At highway speeds, the wing generated minimal effect, but at NASCAR velocities it produced hundreds of pounds of downforce. The wing's extreme height created practical problems for street use. Standard garage doors often couldn't accommodate the car's total height, forcing owners to park outside or remove the wing for storage. Automated car washes were completely impossible. The wing would catch on equipment and cause catastrophic damage. Even hand washing required ladders to properly clean the wing's upper surfaces. The supports created significant blind spots when reversing. Despite these impracticalities, the wing delivered its intended racing purpose brilliantly. Richard Petty's Superbird could maintain higher cornering speeds because the wing kept the rear tires planted. Fact 17. Every Superbird had a mandatory vinyl roof. Every single Plymouth Superbird produced came equipped with a vinyl roof covering, and this wasn't a stylistic choice or optional luxury feature. It was an absolute manufacturing necessity. The vinyl roof existed to hide the extensive welding work required to convert Roadrunners into Superbirds. When Creative Industries installed the radically modified rear window and flush-mounted backlight, they had to cut, reshape, and weld significant portions of the roof structure. The resulting welds were functional but aesthetically rough, creating an industrial appearance completely unsuitable for a production car. Rather than spending time and money grinding down welds and refinishing the metal to showroom quality, Chrysler simply covered everything with vinyl. The vinyl came in black, white, or several other colors, and actually served as weather sealing. This mandatory vinyl roof became a permanent, identifying feature that distinguishes Superbirds from other muscle cars. Some owners over the years have attempted removing the vinyl to expose bare metal, only to discover the crude welding underneath and hastily reapply vinyl covering. Restoration experts strongly advise against vinyl removal because the original roof metal work was never intended for exposure and lacks the finish quality found on standard vehicles. The vinyl also helps preserve the structural modifications by keeping moisture away from welds. The universal vinyl roof requirement makes it one of the easiest ways to spot fake Superbirds. Fact 16. It was created specifically to lure Richard Petty back. The Plymouth Superbird exists for one primary reason: to convince racing legend Richard Petty to return to Plymouth after he defected to Ford for the 1969 season. Petty, already a three-time NASCAR champion and the sport's most recognizable driver, had left Plymouth because their 1969 race cars weren't competitive against Ford's aerodynamic Torino Talladega. His departure was devastating to Plymouth's racing program and brand image. Chrysler executives made bringing Petty back their top priority, authorizing engineers to develop whatever was necessary to field the most competitive car possible. The resulting Superbird was specifically designed to Petty's specifications, incorporating his feedback throughout development. When Plymouth presented the finished Superbird, Petty immediately returned, signing to drive for Plymouth in 1970. The gambit worked spectacularly. The Superbird's development consumed enormous resources, with estimates suggesting Chrysler spent over $2 million designing and homologating the car. This massive investment for one driver demonstrates Petty's immense value to Plymouth's racing program. Petty's famous number 43 Superbird became one of motorsport's most recognizable vehicles. The car delivered everything Plymouth promised. Petty won 18 races across 1970 and 71, driving Superbirds, and Plymouth claimed the manufacturer's championship. Beyond racing success, Petty's return legitimized the Superbird in public perception, transforming it from bizarre oddity to championship-winning legend. Without Richard Petty, the Superbird might never have existed. Fact 15. NASCAR banned it after just one season.
Closing on the straight, closing steadily. He's taking the low groove, going into the turn.
The Plymouth Superbird and its Dodge Daytona sibling were so devastatingly effective at NASCAR superspeedways that the sanctioning body essentially banned them after a single season by implementing new rules for 1971. NASCAR President Bill France recognized that the aerodynamic arms race between manufacturers was spiraling out of control, producing cars that bore little resemblance to showroom models. The new regulations required winged cars to use smaller engines or carry additional weight penalties that negated their aerodynamic advantages. Specifically, winged cars were limited to 305 cubic inch engines, while standard-bodied cars could run up to 430 cubic inches, a massive displacement disadvantage. Chrysler immediately withdrew from NASCAR rather than accept these neutered specifications. The ban effectively ended the aerodynamic era before it could escalate further. Manufacturers had been planning even more extreme designs for 1971, with rumors of Chevrolet preparing their own winged car. These projects were abandoned when NASCAR changed rules, representing millions in wasted development spending. The ban was controversial. Fans loved watching the futuristic winged cars battle at 200 miles per hour. The Superbird's domination had been so complete that officials felt they had no choice but to intervene. Ironically, this regulatory ban transformed the Superbird from successful race car into instant collectible, forever preserving its mystique as the car too fast for NASCAR. Fact 14. Only 1,935 were built.
These iconic fender scoops, what are they for? Well, Plymouth
produced exactly 1,935 Superbirds during the 1970 model year, a number dictated by NASCAR's homologation requirements rather than market demand. NASCAR rules required manufacturers to build one street-legal vehicle for every 2 dealerships to qualify for racing, and Plymouth had approximately 3,800 dealers. The actual production total slightly exceeded minimum requirements to ensure NASCAR approval. Every single one was documented with special VIN codes and trim tags identifying them as authentic Superbirds. This relatively small production run makes them significantly rarer than most muscle cars. For comparison, Plymouth built over 80,000 standard Roadrunners in 1970 alone. The limited production created a fascinating distribution challenge. Plymouth had to allocate 1,935 very expensive vehicles across their national dealer network, many of whom actively didn't want them. Some high-volume dealers received multiple Superbirds, while smaller rural dealerships got none. Certain regions, particularly the Southeast, where NASCAR enjoyed popularity, received disproportionate allocations. The restricted production numbers mean that despite sitting unsold initially, Superbirds quickly became collectible. Today, approximately 1,000 examples are believed to still exist, meaning roughly half survived the past 5 decades. A remarkably high survival rate, attributable to their eventual recognition as valuable collectibles worth preserving. Fact 13. The nose cone added 19 inches to the car's length.
Here we have one of the most influential and legendary cars in American automotive history.
The Superbird's pointed fiberglass nose cone extended the car's overall length by approximately 19 inches compared to a standard Roadrunner, transforming a reasonably sized muscle car into a vehicle exceeding 18.5 feet long. This radical nose extension was aerodynamically essential, smoothly directing airflow around the vehicle's blunt factory front end. The cone was constructed from molded fiberglass to save weight and allow easier manufacturing. It featured hidden headlights that retracted flush into the nose cone's surface, further improving aerodynamics. The cone is attached using a combination of metal brackets and fiberglass mounting points. The added length created significant problems for parallel parking and navigating tight spaces. The nose cone's engineering was surprisingly sophisticated for its era. Engineers used wind tunnel testing to optimize the cone's angle and shape, discovering that too sharp a point actually increased drag, while too blunt an angle failed to provide benefits. The hidden headlights operated via vacuum actuators that could fail, leaving drivers with non-functioning lights. The fiberglass construction meant the nose was relatively fragile. Minor parking lot incidents could crack or shatter the cone, requiring expensive repairs. Despite these practical drawbacks, the nose cone delivered measurable performance benefits, reducing frontal drag, significantly compared to the standard Roadrunner's vertical grille and exposed headlights, translating directly into higher top speeds. Fact 12. It could exceed 200 miles per hour in racing trim.
Just for show, it was essential to the Superbird's success. were unstoppable. They were such a unique combination of massive down
Speedway gearing, the Plymouth Superbird could exceed 200 miles per hour on tracks like Daytona and Talladega. This was absolutely extraordinary performance for 1970, when most production cars struggled to reach 120 miles per hour. Buddy Baker drove a Superbird to an official closed-course speed record of 200.447 miles per hour at Talladega in March 1970, becoming the first driver to officially break the 200-mile-per-hour barrier in a stock car. This achievement generated enormous publicity for Plymouth and validated the Superbird's extreme design. The aerodynamic package reduced drag so effectively that the Superbird required approximately 15% less horsepower than standard-bodied cars to achieve equivalent speeds. Street-legal Superbirds with factory engines and street gearing couldn't approach these racing speeds, typically maxing out around 140 miles per hour. The aerodynamic advantages designed for superspeedway racing provided minimal benefits at legal highway speeds. The wing and nose cone began generating meaningful downforce only above 120 miles per hour. Below those speeds, the modifications actually hurt performance slightly due to added weight. Racing Superbirds achieved their incredible velocities through combinations of highly tuned 426 Hemi engines, producing over 600 horsepower, ultra-low drag bodies, and specialized gearing, the 200. The mile-per-hour capability made Superbirds genuinely dangerous on superspeedways. Fact 11. 3 different engines were available from the factory.
So the Superbird had 3 power plant options. You could get the 440.
Plymouth offered Superbird buyers 3 distinct engine options, creating significant performance and value variations. The base engine was the 440 cubic inch Super Commando V4, 8 producing 375 horsepower, which powered the majority of Superbirds built. The mid-level option was the legendary 426 Hemi, Chrysler's most powerful production engine, generating 425 horsepower. Officially, though actual output likely exceeded 500. The Hemi added approximately $700 to the purchase price, but delivered devastating acceleration and racing pedigree. Only 135 Superbirds received Hemi engines from the factory, making them exceptionally rare. The third option was the 440 cubic inch 6-barrel engine featuring 3 2-barrel carburetors, producing 390 horsepower. The engine choice dramatically affected the Superbird's character and current collectability. Hemi Superbirds are worth 2 to 3 times what equivalent 440 cars command, with pristine examples exceeding $1 million. The Hemi's rarity and legendary reputation make it the most desirable configuration. Interestingly, many buyers in 1970 actually preferred the base engine because Hemis required premium fuel, suffered terrible fuel economy, and needed frequent maintenance. The Hemi's massive power overwhelmed street tires and made the car genuinely dangerous for inexperienced drivers. Insurance companies charged enormous premiums for Hemi cars. These practical concerns meant most buyers chose the 440, creating today's rarity hierarchy. Fact 10. The wing was angle adjustable for different tracks.
And then, of course, our Hemi Daytona over here is a survivor. So come see us at McCacken.
The Superbird's massive rear wing wasn't fixed at a single angle. It featured an adjustment mechanism allowing teams to change the wing's pitch for different tracks and conditions. The wing mounted to its vertical supports through slotted brackets with multiple bolt holes, enabling mechanics to angle it more aggressively for maximum downforce on high-speed superspeedways, or flatten it to reduce drag on shorter tracks. This adjustability was crucial because optimal aerodynamic setup varied dramatically between Daytona's long straightaways and shorter tracks like Martinsville. Teams extensively tested different wing angles during practice sessions. Even small adjustments of 2 or 3 degrees could significantly impact lap times and handling characteristics. The adjustment process was time-consuming, but the performance gains justified the effort. Richard Petty's crew became experts at wing tuning, developing detailed setup sheets documenting optimal angles for each track. They discovered that steeper angles improved high-speed stability, but increased drag, reducing top speed by several miles per hour. Flatter angles decreased drag for higher straightaway speeds, but made the car's rear end loose and difficult to control. Weather conditions also influenced ideal settings. Windy days required different angles than calm conditions. The adjustment capability gave teams important strategic options and competitive advantages. Modern NASCAR strictly regulates aerodynamic elements, eliminating such adjustability, making the Superbird's tunable wing a fascinating glimpse into racing's more experimental era, when teams enjoyed far more technical freedom. Fact 9. Plymouth lost money on every single unit sold. Despite sticker prices around $4,200, Plymouth actually lost money on every Superbird sold, when accounting for total development and production costs. Engineers estimate Chrysler invested over $2 million developing the Superbird's aerodynamic package, including extensive wind tunnel testing, prototype construction, and tooling for specialized components. This development cost had to be amortized across just 1,935 units, adding approximately $1,000 per car before considering actual manufacturing expenses. The conversion process itself was expensive. Creative industries charged Plymouth substantial fees for adding nose cones, wings, and performing necessary bodywork modifications. When dealers started discounting unsold Superbirds by $1,000 or more to move inventory, Plymouth absorbed these losses. Plymouth's management understood from the beginning that Superbirds would lose money directly, but justified the program through racing success and marketing benefits. Championship victories and Richard Petty's star power generated publicity worth millions in advertising value. Winning races sold regular Plymouths by association. The racing program's halo effect theoretically boosted overall sales enough to offset Superbird losses. Whether this strategy actually worked financially is debatable. The Superbird represented Detroit's final era of racing participation regardless of cost. When manufacturers viewed motorsports as essential marketing and built homologation specials without serious profit expectations. The Superbird's financial failure contributed to Chrysler's eventual racing withdrawal. Fact 8. Some were converted back to standard road runners.
Hey everybody, this is Tom from Rocket Restorations, and today we're going to do an
1935, 1942, approaching 2000, they had to make available.
In perhaps the most tragic chapter of muscle car history, numerous Plymouth Superbirds were actually converted back into standard road runners by frustrated dealers desperate to sell them. This involved removing and discarding the distinctive nose cone and rear wing, filling holes where mounting brackets had been welded, repainting affected areas, and reinstalling standard Roadrunner front sheet metal and trunk lid. Some conversions were professionally executed, while others were crude hack jobs. Dealers performed these conversions because they genuinely believed the cars were unsellable with their outrageous aerodynamic equipment intact. Removing the Superbird's distinctive features transformed them into vehicles that looked like normal muscle cars that conservative buyers might actually purchase. These conversions successfully moved inventory. Converted cars sold quickly at Roadrunner prices. Experts estimate that between 50 and 100 Superbirds suffered conversion to Roadrunner specification, though exact numbers remain unknown. Some converted cars have been discovered decades later and painstakingly restored back to Superbird configuration using reproduction parts, but purists consider these reconverted cars less valuable than unmolested originals. The conversions destroyed irreplaceable original components, including fiberglass nose cones and wing assemblies that are now worth tens of thousands of dollars individually. Identification of converted cars requires detective work examining VIN numbers and subtle body modifications. These conversions perfectly illustrate how dramatically public perception has shifted. Modifications that seemed reasonable business decisions in 1970 are now viewed as automotive vandalism. Fact 7. It shared parts with the Dodge Daytona but looked different.
It's not too often you get a Daytona next to a Superbird, so I figure it's a perfect opportunity to... To start with, check out the big rear wings. The Daytona's wing is actually more upright, the base.
The Plymouth Superbird was essentially a reskinned version of the Dodge Daytona that had dominated NASCAR during 1969, sharing the same basic aerodynamic concepts and many mechanical components while appearing distinctly different. Both cars featured similar pointed nose cones and tall rear wings, but Plymouth engineers made several modifications to differentiate the Superbird. The Superbird used a different front fender design and a flush-mounted rear window created by recessing the backlight rather than using the Daytona's protruding window design. The Superbird's nose cone was slightly longer and shaped differently, incorporating smoother curves that, testing showed, produced marginally better aerodynamics. Plymouth based the Superbird on the Roadrunner, while Dodge built Daytonas from Chargers, creating different greenhouse shapes. The wing assemblies were virtually identical between both cars. Despite sharing DNA, Superbirds and Daytonas projected different personalities. The Superbird's Roadrunner basis and cartoon branding gave it a slightly more playful character compared to the Daytona's Charger-derived aggression. Plymouth produced substantially more Superbirds, 1,935 versus only 503 Daytonas, making the Dodge considerably rarer today. Both vehicles achieved similar racing success. Collectors debate which car is more desirable, with Daytona supporters emphasizing greater rarity, while Superbird enthusiasts highlight Richard Petty's association. Market values are comparable between equivalent examples. The relationship between both cars demonstrates how corporate siblings can share fundamental engineering while maintaining distinct identities through styling choices. Fact 6. The flush rear window required cutting the roof structure.
Wheel of a 1970 Plymouth Superbird. These NASCAR-bred Mopars
Creating the Superbird's distinctive flush-mounted rear window required extensive and irreversible modifications to the Daytona Roadrunner's body structure. Plymouth engineers determined that recessing the rear window improved aerodynamics by reducing the turbulent wake behind the car. But implementing this design meant cutting, reshaping, and re-welding significant portions of the roof and rear body panel. Workers literally cut away the Roadrunner's original rear window, opening and surrounding sheet metal, then fabricated and welded new metal, forming a recessed channel for the backlight glass. This labor-intensive process took hours per vehicle and required skilled fabricators. The extensive welding work explains why every Superbird required a vinyl roof. The welds were too extensive and rough to hide through conventional finish work. The flush window modification represented a permanent commitment once performed. Even Superbirds that dealers stripped of their wings and nose cones retained the modified rear window because reversing the bodywork changes was impractical. This means some Roadrunner appearing cars hiding in barns are actually modified. Superbirds waiting to be discovered. The window modification improved high-speed aerodynamics measurably, reducing the low-pressure turbulent area behind the car that created drag. The modification did slightly reduce interior noise and improved the car's visual proportions. The engineering effort invested in this single modification demonstrates Chrysler's commitment to aerodynamic perfection and willingness to accept complex, expensive manufacturing processes. Fact 5. It came with cartoon Roadrunner graphics and horn.
You just gave up the piston cup. You know that?
In a delightfully absurd juxtaposition, Plymouth's ultimate NASCAR weapon featured Warner Brothers' cartoon Roadrunner character as standard equipment. Every Superbird left the factory with Roadrunner decals on the wing's vertical supports and a horn that played the cartoon's signature beep-beep sound instead of a conventional horn tone. This whimsical branding created hilarious contrast between the car's serious racing purpose and its playful cartoon mascot. The Roadrunner character had been Plymouth's performance brand mascot since 1968. Licensed from Warner Brothers through a deal that cost Plymouth substantial annual royalties. Buyers could delete the cartoon graphics by special order, though most kept them. The horn's distinctive sound was produced by a specialized dual trumpet horn assembly. The cartoon branding simultaneously charmed and irritated Superbird owners. Children loved the beep-beep horn, but many adult owners found it embarrassing and quickly disconnected or replaced it with conventional horns. The graphics had mixed reception. Some appreciated the playful touch, while others felt cartoon characters undermined the car's serious performance credibility. Over time, the Roadrunner branding became beloved as nostalgic reminder of muscle car culture's more innocent era. Today, original Roadrunner graphics are highly desirable among collectors who want authentic period-correct cars. Reproduction decals are available for restorations. The horn mechanism is particularly sought after as many were removed or failed over the decades. The Cartoon Association helps distinguish Plymouth's Aero car from Dodge's similar Daytona. Fact 4. Pristine examples now sell for over $1 million.
They know how rare these are. This is another one. Never comes for sale to the public.
Pretty cool. Part of IROC history right there. Well, at a bargain price.
The same Superbirds that dealers couldn't give away in 1970 now command astronomical prices at collector car auctions, with pristine, original, documented Hemi-powered examples regularly exceeding $1 million. A number matching Hemi Superbird, with comprehensive documentation and original condition, sold at Mecum auctions for $1.3 million in 2019. Even well-restored 440-powered examples typically bring $200,000 to $400,000. This represents appreciation of roughly 30,000% from original purchase prices, making Superbirds among the most valuable American muscle cars ever produced. The dramatic value increase reflects extreme rarity, with only 1,935 built iconic status within automotive history and association with Richard Petty and NASCAR's golden era. The million-dollar valuations are reserved for the absolute best examples meeting strict criteria. Buyers at this level demand original unrestored survivor cars retaining factory paint, interior, and drivetrain, or Concours quality restorations executed to museum standards. Documentation is crucial. Cars with original window stickers and broadcast sheets command significant premiums. Hemi engines add enormous value, typically doubling or tripling prices compared to equivalent 440 cars. The values have created unfortunate side effects, including fraud, with unscrupulous sellers creating fake Superbirds. Authentication by recognized experts is essential for high-value purchases. The financial appreciation has preserved many examples that might otherwise have been destroyed. Owners recognize they're custodians of valuable automotive history. Fact 3. The headlights were vacuum, operated and frequently failed.
Born to dominate. And dominate it did. Behind the wheel, NASCAR
vacuum pump. They still work. How about that?
The Superbird's aerodynamically smooth nose cone achieved part of its effectiveness by hiding the headlights behind retractable doors that opened via vacuum-operated actuators. When drivers switched on the headlights, vacuum pressure from the engine would activate mechanisms that rotated the headlight housings outward. When lights were switched off, springs would return the assemblies to their hidden positions. This system was engineered for maximum aerodynamic benefit, eliminating the drag penalty of exposed headlights. Unfortunately, the vacuum-operated mechanism was notoriously unreliable and became a persistent frustration for Superbird owners. The actuators would stick, leak, or fail completely, leaving headlights stuck open or closed. The vacuum lines running from the engine to the nose cone would crack, disconnect, or develop leaks. The headlight failures weren't merely inconvenient, they were potentially dangerous. Drivers discovering non-functioning headlights after dark faced serious safety issues. The system's complexity made roadside repairs virtually impossible, requiring towing to facilities with proper tools. Replacement actuators and specialized components were expensive and have become increasingly difficult to source as vehicles age. Modern Superbird owners restoring cars face decisions about whether to rebuild original vacuum systems or convert to more reliable electric actuators. Purists insist on original vacuum systems despite reliability issues. The headlight system represents 1960s automotive engineering at its most optimistic. Designers prioritized innovation and performance over reliability, creating sophisticated mechanisms that worked brilliantly when functional, but failed frequently. Fact 2. It was banned from some drag strips for being too fast. While designed for NASCAR oval tracks, some Superbird owners discovered their cars were so quick in straight-line acceleration that certain drag strips refused to allow them to compete without additional safety equipment. Hemi-powered Superbirds could cover the quarter mile in the low 13-second range at over 100 miles per hour in stock configuration, with minor modifications pushing them into the 12-second zone. Many drag strips in the early 1970s had regulations requiring cars running under certain elapsed times to have roll cages, safety harnesses, and fire suppression systems equipment. Superbirds lacked as street-legal vehicles. Track officials worried about Superbird's high speeds combined with their aerodynamic peculiarities, creating handling unpredictability. Some tracks simply refused entry to Superbirds regardless of equipment. The drag strip bans were ironic because Superbirds weren't optimized for quarter-mile racing. Their aerodynamic advantages only manifested above 120 miles per hour, speeds achieved late in quarter-mile runs, or not at all. The cars were actually slightly heavier and slower than equivalent road runners at drag strips due to added weight. However, the Hemi engine's enormous power overcame these handicaps, delivering violent acceleration that intimidated track officials. Owners wanting to drag race their Superbirds faced expensive safety upgrades or finding tracks with more permissive rules. The situation highlights how extreme these vehicles were by 1970 standards. Even at venues dedicated to high-performance cars, Superbirds exceeded comfort zones. Fact 1. It achieved exactly what it was built for, then disappeared forever.
Plymouth Superbird, uno de los máximos exponentes de los muscle car y
Got some power. Yeah.
The Plymouth Superbird stands as perhaps the most successful purpose-built vehicle in automotive history because it achieved its singular mission perfectly before vanishing completely. Plymouth created the Superbird for one reason: to win NASCAR championships with Richard Petty behind the wheel. In 1970, its only year of competition, the Superbird utterly dominated, winning 21 races with Petty, claiming 8 victories personally, and securing Plymouth the manufacturer's championship. The car's aerodynamic superiority was so overwhelming that NASCAR banned it the following year, ending its competitive career after a single perfect season. No other vehicle has achieved such complete success so quickly before being regulated out of existence. The Superbird proved its engineering concepts worked exactly as intended, then disappeared forever. The Superbird story represents the absolute peak of manufacturer commitment to winning, regardless of practicality or profitability. Modern automotive companies would never accept such programs. Current racing regulations prevent wildly modified homologation specials, and financial pressures demand profits from every vehicle produced. The Superbird lost money, looked absurd, sold poorly, and angered dealers, yet accomplished its mission flawlessly, delivering the championships Chrysler craved. Its immediate ban by NASCAR only enhanced its mystique. The transformation from unwanted oddity to million-dollar icon demonstrates how time changes perception. Today's Superbirds attract crowds wherever they appear, representing an era when manufacturers built genuinely insane vehicles simply to go racing. The Superbird didn't just achieve its purpose, it became immortal doing so. From wind tunnel breakthrough to NASCAR domination to million-dollar collectible, the Superbird's journey is absolutely legendary. This winged warrior proved that sometimes the craziest ideas work perfectly, even if only for one glorious season.